My name is Dr. Asadhulla Ibrahim. I work with the United Nations in Afghanistan, and I'm also a social activist working closely with Afghan Peace and Democracy Act and couple. When we come to the human rights in Afghanistan, keeping in mind the current context of Afghanistan, the human rights actors are focusing mostly on civilian protections, mainly on civilian capabilities, child protections, elimination of violence against women, and also they are focusing on detainees' rights. They have another program, People Dialogue, and the last priority is the ESC rights, especially to housing. The presentation I made here is the real situation, what is happening in Afghanistan, and what steps are taken to take care of the right to housing. Should I proceed without? Okay. Unfortunately, ESC rights have been recognized by Afghan Constitution and society in principle. Many national and international institutions and organizations are working on the promotion, protection, and to some extent on the enforcement of ESC rights, including right to adequate standard of living. Compared to other human rights areas, less tangible achievements we can notice regarding these rights in Afghanistan. Housing and shelters are among the biggest problems and challenges in Afghanistan, especially for IDPs or internally displaced persons and refugee returnees. Security instability, poverty, insufficient planning for the returnees and IDPs decrease the access of people to adequate housing. Arbitrary evictions, including forced evictions, are categorized under the IDPs or internally displaced persons in Afghanistan. IDPs are among the world's most vulnerable people. According to the UNHCR statistics, we have 624,000 IDPs in Afghanistan. Among this, there was 124,000 IDPs only in 2013. Overall, more than 20 out of 34 provinces were affected by the displacement in 2013. The reason for all displacements in Afghanistan are usually enumerated as mentioned here. Unfortunately, we cannot see the slide. Persistent armed conflict, military operations, insecurity, natural and man-made disasters, ethnic and tribal conflict, general violence and human violations, unequal development, land grabbing and land mafia. The recent development in Afghanistan is launching the national IDP policy, which was drafted in September 2013, launched on the 11th February 2014. It was made by the Afghan government led by the Ministry of Refugees and Returnees, Ministry of Refugees and Repatriations, supported by national and international organizations including UNHCR, Norwegian Council for Refugees, USAID, and other stakeholders. The national IDP policy gives hopes for ensuring the protection of the rights of displaced persons, finds solutions for people affected by the conflicts and natural disasters. This policy set out the roles and responsibility of the different government ministries, humanitarian and development actors, and other partners. Returnees. From March 2002 to the end of September 2014, we had overall 5.8 million Afghan refugees. Today, about quarter of Afghan population consists of the returnees. The main implementer of this policy is Ministry of Repatriations and Refugee. Disasters. Great. Yeah, that is fine. Yeah, this is the one. Main implementers of the national IDP policy is the Ministry of Repatriation and Refugees, Disaster Management Authority and Commission, UNHCR, Norwegian Council for Refugees, others including Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, and other municipalities. For promoting and protecting of right to adequate housing and protection against arbitrary evictions, Afghans requires peace, security, and stability. It is not only for the purpose of right to housing, it is for overall development, even for overall livelihood in Afghanistan. Good governance and rule of law is also a requirement, which is now on the priorities of the Afghan government. Implementation of the national IDP policy. The Ministry of Repatriation and Refugee is strictly working on this policy to be implemented. With the support of UNHCR, Norwegian Council for Refugees, other involved ministries including Public Health, Agriculture, Urban Development Ministry, municipalities, governors and district leaders. Prevention of violence and violations, especially Afghanistan's Independent Human Rights Commission is working on this with other partners. Proper disaster management and preparedness plan. We have two authorities to work on the disaster preparedness plan, mainly the Disaster Management Authority, and on the high level there is a commission on this, which is led by the second vice president usually, and they are making at least an annual preparation for the natural, man-made or natural disaster plan. To implement this policy, we need a full support on national, regional and international levels. And national support means we need support from the two authorities, the involved ministries, national NGOs, international organizations, especially UN, which include UNHCR and IOM. They are working on the IDPs. And this is the very usual slide. I think I saved you a few minutes.
Yes, you have.
I saved you a few minutes, and you were lucky that there was no electricity. I had some speed on that.
But you could show that slide first.
Okay, the first slide. I can go back to that one. Because you will see some real photos, and these are the. You wanted to have the statistics. According to this is the
first slide.
Before
This one.
This one.
The picture.
This one. You know this is.
Kabul. Oh, the Kabul.
Yeah.
Please, what do you explain?
Yeah.
What is the situation we can realize?
These statistics are given by the UNHCR database. UNHCR is usually, they have a monitoring system. They are working usually on IDPs. Currently, UNHCR and the Ministry of Repatriations and Refugees are working on the displaced people from the tribal areas of Pakistan to Afghanistan due to the current anti-terrorist war in the tribal areas, especially in the south and north Waziristan and on the other side of the Europe line. And now, the biggest, before that, the bombardment, security operations was the biggest causes of the internal displacements.